Hami Takiapi, Leampe Tuwashte. Welcome to the ICT Newscast. I'm Shirley Snavy. The Stockbridge-Munsee Band of Mohicans were driven out of the Eastern Woodlands nearly 2 centuries ago. Today, tribal members are working to connect youth with their homelands. Stuart Huntington has more.
Haniagohe Webster is a counselor ushering Stockbridge-Munsee students from their reservation in what is now Wisconsin to visit for the first time their ancestral homelands in what is now New York and Massachusetts. She wants to share with the youth something she experienced on the land.
Yeah, my first experience here was definitely like a wave that hit me. Like it was something that I couldn't really explain, but it was definitely like it feels really good to be here. And I know like the kids here too also feel that way.
In July, Webster made the 17-hour drive from Bowler, Wisconsin with 9 youths to visit territory their ancestors were driven from nearly 2 centuries ago. It was the 3rd year for the Youth Visitation Project founded by Sean Stevens through his organization Red Road Reclamation.
Bringing them back to, get in touch with their ancestral lands. We all grow up, in Wisconsin. Most of us never setting foot out here, especially when in my generation, when I was younger. 99% of our people have never been out here. We're trying hard to help reclaim that identity, reclaim our culture, reclaim our languages, reclaim our children who are lost in the system.
Stevens, too, wanted to share something profound he experienced on his first visit to the homelands many years ago.
It just seemed very magical. When I came, it just felt like the ancestors were, you could feel them all around. Almost like you're driving down the road, it's almost like you could see them kind of peeking around the trees or something, watching us, and happy that we were here. And I couldn't really describe the whole feeling, just felt like the ancestors are happy we're here.
Stephen's sister, Winona Casbob, shares his passion for spreading a connection to homelands and with it, identity and culture.
We bring them here. We get them in touch with nature. We reconnect them to nature, to the land, to the trees, to the animals. And in the end, it reconnects them to self. And that helps with mental health.
And it's fun, she says, watching this happen to the kids.
The lights just start bing, 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 and they all just kind of start lighting up, and then the rest follow. It's a really beautiful thing to see.
Just ask the kids.
This whole trip I find fun because we're seeing other places that used to belong to our people.
The other day, we went to this great big mountain. I just thought it was really fun. I never left the state of Wisconsin, so coming out to New York was the best choice I think I made.
Red Road Reclamation has no ambition to stop now.
We actually want to expand. As our program grows, we started with the tribe that we're from. We started with ourselves, then went to family, went to tribal, and now is the 3rd year. And so we're opening up to the other part of our tribe, which is the Munsee part of the tribe, the Lenni Lenape. And then the goal is to keep going, keep expanding, helping all nations. Our goal was never just one. It was about helping all of our people.
And spreading the message even further.
Well, if we're looking at it from a perspective of we're on the moon, and we say, where's your ancestors come from? We all point to Earth. We're all from here, which means that we're all relatives. We've all sprouted from the same tree of life. All humans, all animals, all plants, we all have common genetics, which means everything is your relative, everything is family. But trying to remind people, we're all in this together. We're all family, and we can't fix the world. As Native people who have this understanding of indigenousness, We can't fix it on our own. We can't just take care of it in our own backyard, for the world. The world is all connected. There's still a lot of natives out there that don't think we should be sharing our ways. We shouldn't be sharing our ways with other people. That's our ways. We've had so much taken from us and stuff. Why would we give something like that out? But we have to, because the world needs it. The world needs it. The people need it. The earth needs it. We all need it.
For ICT from the ancestral homelands of the Stockbridge-Munsee Band of Mohicans, I'm Stuart Huntington.
Tsapakasla. Tsapakasla. She's strong. Tsapakasla. Tsapakasla. She's strong. Tsapakasla. Tsapakasla. She's strong.
An estimated 20,000 First Nations children were taken from their families and adopted by non-Indigenous people in Canada. This policy became known as the 60s Scoop. Decades later, one family is reunited. Special correspondent Colleen Rojat has the story.
Lorraine Sinclair has been waiting for this day her entire life.
How are you doing this morning? I'm excited. I'm really excited. We'll be off soon.
Lorraine's siblings, Cindy and Gerald Monroe, are here for emotional support. They will drive another 2 hours to Ellendale, North Dakota to find their missing sister. She was taken away from their family in 1971. She is now a ward of the state of North Dakota. They are going there to find out what has happened to her.
A little emotional once in a while. It's like, yeah. But we'll be fine.
Elizabeth was only 4 years old when she was adopted by a white family in Minnesota. She was part of the 60s Scoop. Cindy, Lorraine, and Gerald were also taken away and raised in separate families far apart from one another. They were able to reunite in the early 90s. As they reach their destination, emotions are running high.
The only part I don't think I'm going to like is when we leave, because she's going to cry. She's going to cry.
Their sister, Elizabeth, knows they're coming and she's waiting for them at the door.
Oh, God. Everybody has to find their family, and we can't leave anybody behind. No one should be left behind. How are you guys feeling? Oh, good. Lots of love. I'm still shaking.
Me too. Their sister is staying in an assisted living facility.
I didn't realize I was going to get locked up down here, and now I have no family down here.
Could you maybe tell us the situation of how that happened, Elizabeth?
Yeah, I was at home drinking. I was off of work, and my 17-year-old son stole a cop car and drove it home. So he brought all the police to our house. And so when that happened, they basically arrested me, arrested him, and took my kids, my other kid, my daughter, into social services. And I got put in the state hospital for my drinking.
Elizabeth experienced horrible racism.
They were very kind of mean to me. They would, powwow around me and, make the oh sound and, or they'd wear feathers and, they would always try to make fun of me.
Elizabeth has been held here for 18 months.
I heard you tell your sisters that you didn't even realize that, like, it's estimated that 30,000 Indigenous children were taken away from their families and adopted all over Canada, here to the United States and to Europe, and you didn't really know like how many kids were affected.
No, I had no idea. Like I said, I only met one Native my whole life growing up.
That you couldn't leave, like when you were locked up here, kind of against your will. Like what goes through your mind when you're here?
You just kind of lose hope. You don't wish for anything. About it.
I told her, yes, there is. You still have your sisters, your family. We're not giving up on you.
Amen.
Her family says they are going to do everything they can to bring her back to Canada. Their visit goes fast. Lorraine and her siblings are working on getting her Canadian birth certificate so they can prove in court she is Canadian. They are consulting a lawyer to see what steps have to be taken to get the guardianship removed.
I'm feeling that I think that our sister would be capable to look after herself, maybe a little help at first.
They say it's hard not to think about how the 60s scoop has torn thousands of families apart. As they say farewell for now, they hope and pray that more is done to help all 60 scoop survivors return home. For ICT, I'm Colleen Rajat.
Chris James is CEO of the National Center for American Indian Enterprise Development. He's running for Congress in Arizona's 5th District. Managing editor Jordan Bennett-Begay spoke with James about why he's ready to serve his community in Washington.
We are here with Chris James, who is running for Arizona's 5th Congressional District. Thanks for coming to talk to ICT, Chris.
Thank you, Jordan. It's so great to be here.
I guess my first question is then, why Congress? Why in Arizona?
Well, Jordan, thank you so much for that question. I live here in Arizona, so I've been in Arizona for about almost a decade. I've raised my kids here in Arizona, and I really feel passionate about our district, about the needs of our district. So that's really why I'm in Arizona. Why I'm running for Congress, you know, I am just so tired of not being represented. And I think a lot of our folks around the country feels like that. You know, a lot of times we just don't feel represented, regardless of what party we're in. The person that often is elected to Congress, they don't really understand what it's like to be a father, trying to put 3 kids through college. They don't really understand having parents who are really reliant on Social Security and Medicare, where to a point that it's a struggle for them to survive. You know, they don't understand what it's like to go to a grocery store and see your grocery bill almost double over the past 6 months. So, you know, those are some of the reasons I'm running, and I want to really represent our district.
It sounded like it was just very recent then that just urged you to want to run for this seat, right?
Absolutely. Having conversations, really, it started at the Reservation Economic Summit. You know, as you know, the National Center for American Indian Enterprise Development, we put on Res every year. And, I was just talking to folks, and you've heard me talk about leadership and how everybody should serve. And I'm up on stage and I'm encouraging people to run for office if they run for tribal leadership or if they run for local office. And then someone came up to me afterwards and they're like, "Hey, have you thought about running for office?" I'm like, no. And then the more other people came up, and the more I started seeing things that I didn't like happening in Washington. And it really just, the fire started growing inside of me. And I was like, I've been on the sidelines for a very long time. I've been advocating for change. I've been advocating for policy. I've been advocating for our communities. So I would love to be able to advocate from the inside, because I know how it works. And I think I would be a great advocate, or I know I'd be a great advocate, not only for Arizona 5, but also all of Indian country.
And you said you know how it works. I don't know if a lot of people know that you have a background in public service. I mean, you worked under the Obama administration in the Treasury, and then for the U.S. Small Business Administration.
Yeah. Yeah, I spent 8 years in the Obama administration, working in community development at the Treasury Department, really supporting our communities. I ran the Native Initiatives program. So under my leadership, we put out about $300 million worth of grants into our communities over the few years that I worked there. At the U.S. Small Business Administration, I ran the Office of Native American Affairs, the Office of Intergovernmental Affairs, and the Office of Field Operations. So really, I oversaw half of SBA's workforce when I left in 2016, and really helping not only our communities with capital, programs, contracting opportunities, but all small businesses throughout the United States. I help them get access to capital, access to just opportunity, how to grow their business, how to expand their businesses. And I also had a lot of connections with Fortune 500 companies. I developed a lot of programs there to really support small businesses in our tribal communities.
And then also, I think part of that, your background too, like you said earlier, is you're CEO of the National Center. So all those three, experiences, your background combined, what is your plan now? I mean, you're advocating for education, infrastructure, economic growth. Can you tell voters, like, what is your plan?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I already mentioned the healthcare piece. I mean, healthcare really for me is a number one priority, because of, I mentioned early on, my just recently my dad had a stroke, and then unfortunately he passed away a few months later. But through that process, I'm navigating working with Medicare, because my parents only have right now Medicare as their primary insurance. So I'm working with doctors and hospitals, and at one point, even Medicare. Here's a patient who can't even move or talk, and they're like, well, his Medicare is going to expire. We need to find another facility for him. And just the lack of compassion of working with Medicare and dealing with that. I mean, Medicare is so confusing. So that's a big priority. As you mentioned, infrastructure is a big priority for me. I mean, definitely we need better systems, and infrastructure creates jobs. Infrastructure creates opportunity for small businesses. And when I see this current administration, when they are stopping projects, when they're not funding, when they're holding states hostage because of politics, it's really disappointing. So infrastructure is a big thing. Then of course, education and workforce. I mean, you and I both know, we need more job opportunities for our youth, for our folks that are 18, 19 timeframe. We need new opportunities for training program. And then for folks that want to go to college, we need different pathways. Not everybody goes to college. So we need a pathway for workforce development and supporting higher education, but also, hey, we need to support our K through 12 and protect them and get them access to programs. And again, this current administration held Arizona hostage for months, not giving money. Not only Arizona, a lot of states just held them hostage by not providing the monies to those states that they need to keep that K through 12 education. So, those are some of the highlights.
And then for the people who don't know, Arizona's 5th Congressional District is part of Maricopa County. It's an urban population, but there are a lot of Native voters there too.
There are. The district, Arizona 5, is borders Gila River. which of course Governor Stephen Lewis is there, and that community. A great community. A lot of tribal members live in the community, but there's other tribal members that live in the district as well.
Was there anything else, you wanted to add that I didn't ask that you think voters should know?
I really think, Jordan, that this campaign, isn't just about policies, but it's also about protecting our democracy. We are under attack. Even just mail-in voting, seeing that being attacked hurts not only our Native communities, it hurts our seniors, it hurts everybody that just they want to vote, but they can't take a day off to go vote, or they can't drive 45 minutes to go vote. So this mail-in voting is so important to protect. And hearing this administration attacking it, it's just sad. And frankly, it's scary. So, that's one of my closing remarks.
Well, thank you so much, Chris. Really appreciate you being here with us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jordan.
Drug cartels are moving deeper into the Amazon, putting indigenous communities at risk. Daniel Herrera Carbajal reports on the situation in Peru.
The existence of the Peruvian Amazonians is at risk. Threats from extractive industries and drug cartels are bringing unwanted changes to their communities.
We found that at least 274 indigenous communities are directly influenced by drug trafficking, but by the existence of illicit crops or laboratories or landing areas. 274, approximately 10% of them.
Ricardo Soberon is a Peruvian lawyer. He's a founder and former director of the Drugs and Human Rights Research Center in Lima. The situation is only getting worse, according to a report he authored in partnership with other Amazonian NGOs.
One of the things that we saw during the report is that while in the 90s and early 21st century, we had a drug trafficking which was located basically in the upper jungle of the Amazon region, in a level of territory which is above 1,000 meters above sea. After the pandemics, what we are witnessing is a phenomenon of bringing the illicit drug trafficking into more in the lower region of the Amazon, where the indigenous populations live.
Y también generando actividades delictivas transfronterizas. Atacan, generan...
They are generating cross-border criminal activities. They attack, they generate deforestation, they generate a violation of human rights. They are recruiting young people. They are recruiting indigenous youth particularly, to convert them into a workforce within their illicit activities. A third of Peru's population faces multidimensional poverty, according to 2023 statistics. That includes monetary poverty, as well as lack of education, access to health, and basic services like potable water and sewage. In the Amazonian regions, that poverty fluctuates from 47% up to 60%. Many indigenous kids see organized crime as their only way out because of this disparity in money and services, Brauhaut says.
No tienen los servicios básicos mínimos, los costos de salud, de educación, transporte, las
They do not have the minimum basic services. Health costs, transportation, education, and job opportunities are tremendously scarce. So a young person who wants to get ahead does not have the means to get ahead. He does not have educational resources at his disposal. So the best option, the quickest option, the easiest, is the one that also in some way corresponds to your disappointment with the system. Who are these groups that are recruiting young indigenous kids? Many started as guerrilla organizations to support political goals like the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia and the Shining Path of Peru. But now, FARC is deeply involved in the drug trade, and Shining Path has committed what Peruvian officials call, quote, acts of genocide, when they massacred 14 community members, including women and children. These groups offer kids and teens food, jobs, and luxuries like cell phones. According to a report that monitors the cultivation of coca in Peru, in 2018, there were close to 5,000 hectares of coca in native territories. Fast forward to 2023, there are now little more than 13,000 hectares of land being used to cultivate coca leaves. But what's caused this more than double increase in coca cultivation?
Between 2014 and 2019, US and Peru promoted policies on drugs, sustained the idea that giving property titles for coca growers was a good way for maintaining them in the territory in order to avoid this movement and migration to other places in the territory. So far, so good. But the problem is that this property titles distribution has been made without considering if previously there weren't indigenous communities. Peruvian state has given property titles, individual property titles, within collective territories. State policies had promoted the weakening of the situation of indigenous populations.
Now, that isn't the only issue contributing to territory loss for these indigenous communities. For a more in-depth report, check out our website. For ICT, Daniel Herrera Carvajal.
And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. For all the latest, visit ictnews.org. From all of us in the newsroom, stay safe, my relatives.